Hello and welcome to On Point. I'm Chris Farias. When you hear the word makeup or personal care products, you usually think of beautiful and flawless skin. But cosmetic products can be very harmful. Today we are talking about how the products we use for our own personal care can actually be extremely toxic. Yes, that's correct, toxic. These beauty products can range from mascara to toothpaste to sunscreen. Although many of these products are intended for women, personal care products for men can also have future health effects. Cosmetics that are meant to make you look more beautiful may also put your health at risk. Some of the products that you may be using contain mercury, lead, and estrogenic chemicals that can affect your hormones. The average woman is exposed to 168 unique chemicals in cosmetics every day, and the average man is exposed to 85. Here are some consumers who use makeup but do not realize how harmful the products can be.
I always try to buy biological products, especially for my skin and hair care. I'm from Italy, and in Italy and Europe it's very easy nowadays to find biological stuff at different price levels. Here in America it's quite more difficult.
And I don't know, to me at first, I just didn't think that what you put on your skin really affected your body and your balance. So a lot more recently I've been caring about what's in my beauty products for sure.
Why is it that the FDA regulates our food but not our personal care? On Point's Hariri has more on the story.
Thank you, Chris. With me today, I have Professor of Chemistry at CSUN, Dr. Gagik Melikyan, author of Guilty Until Proven Innocent, Antioxidants, Food Supplements, and Cosmetics. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you for inviting me.
So, first off, I just want to start out by asking you, what inspired you to write a book about a topic that the FDA doesn't want to talk about?
I have to say that I started working on this book in 2006 and published in 2010. And the idea was to bring the information which is not available to the general public, to educate them so that they won't be taken advantage of by just buying the products which are not properly tested. And I have to say that there is a significant amount of information in the scientific community which is not available to the general public. So the whole idea was actually to overcome this gap and make it available to the general public.
Mm-hmm. And why doesn't the FDA want to talk about these ingredients and chemicals that are in these products that we use, for personal care products?
The reason is not that they do not want to talk, but if we talk about personal care products, we are talking about thousands of compounds that our bodies are exposed to on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. And it's almost impossible to check all of them to the full extent because we're talking the human resources and financial resources. And these compounds are not checked by the FDA on the same level of the drugs or medicines or therapeutic means, which goes through the rigors of preclinical trials and the toxicology studies, and after that clinical trials, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. So it's almost impossible because of the resources and financial constraints. But the general public should do their part, actually educating themselves and listening to this information so that they can protect themselves.
Mm-hmm. And for people who might not know, can you name some of the most harmful chemicals that are in these products and personal care products that is detrimental to our skin and the environment too?
Yeah. I can name not the products because there are so many of them. We're talking thousands of them. I can name the impact of those products, which potentially they can have on the human bodies. So there are also several, but most important ones are potential carcinogenicity, potential reproductive toxicity, potential developmental toxicity, and also the ability of some of these compounds to act as endocrine disruptors. This is a main issue. Just to explain, endocrine disruptors are those compounds which goes inside the body and they can mimic male hormones and female hormones. Imagine that you are applying the moisturizer and it has compound in it which can act as the same way as female hormone, which is estrogen. Mm-hmm. And women are using this without realizing it. This is like putting the women who are using that particular formulation on hormone replacement therapy without actually telling them.
And it's crazy because so many people don't even know that. And So for instance, if we're looking at labels and they say paraben-free, can it be trusted even if it's not FDA regulated?
Now, the paraben is now, these days, almost a household name. How much was known in the scientific community about its estrogenicity? Significant amount of information was collected even 2 decades ago, that these compounds are estrogenic and should not be used as antimicrobial agents in cosmetic formulations. But the problem is that it takes a while until the industry will realize that they have to work on alternatives, in this particular case as my antimicrobial agent, and to change them. And while they are working on changing this, FDA has to do its part actually to enforce. And that part, I think, we're not doing enough. And general public also has to put pressure on the federal agencies so that they can act maybe in a more expeditious manner.
So if these chemicals are so harmful to our bodies, then why do companies make these personal care products that contain these chemicals that, for example, cause cancer?
Well, the issue is that these compounds are in those formulations not because the industry people are some vicious people who would like to harm us. No. The thing is that, let's say they have to come up with some kind of formulation, sunscreen lotion. Of course, they will just look around to see what kind of formulations are available, known to be used maybe by some other companies by themselves, right? To do some modifications, to do some adjustments, and start producing. Even if it's known that paraben is estrogenic, if it's not banned, then it is legal actually to use it in those formulations. So the regulations which are provided by executive branch and federal agencies has to be such that there should be clear instruction to the for-profit organizations, to the companies, what can be used or what cannot be used.
And you just mentioned sunscreen lotion, which I wanted to ask about. So with summer approaching in a couple of months, what's one thing people should know when applying their sunscreen on their bodies and the harmful chemicals in that?
Now, sunscreen lotions are a major problem. This is why even 10 years ago, when I wrote my book and published in 2010, one section is about sunscreen lotions. Now, let me explain what's going on. We would like to protect our skin from irradiation, which is coming from sun. It's understandable. Now, there are two types of principles. Some of these compounds, they work on what is called a reflection principle. Some of them, they work on the absorption principle. Even 10 years ago, I was criticizing that absorption principle because the very same reason why these compounds can absorb the sunlight, because of the very same reason structurally, they can also cause harm to the body systems, in particular to DNA bases and to certain amino acids, and cause harm, which is known. Now, a couple of weeks ago, FDA has finally decided they will start looking at those sunscreen lotions and compounds which are used in those sunscreen lotions. And I have to say that I'm not really satisfied with the decisions are made as of this afternoon. So these are the exact numbers. FDA has determined that among 16 main components which are used in sunscreen lotion, 2 of them should be banned, 2 of them should be used, which is a zinc oxide and titanium dioxide, and 12 of them should be studied a little bit more before final recommendations can be made. Now, those which are known, which are recommended now by FDA as exactly 2 compounds out of 16 which are working on the reflection principle. 12 that they're recommending now to study, from my point of view, there is no need to study them because they belong to the classes of organic compounds which are already known to be harmful. I will just give you an example. For example, octinoxate. It's a derivative of compound which is called acrylic acid. How much we know about acrylic acids? For many, many years, some of the derivatives of acrylic acids, they are in the list of carcinogens, suspected carcinogens, probable carcinogens, possible carcinogens. There are different groups in the list which is run by the International Agency for Research on Cancer. So this class of organic compounds is already compromised. There is no need to study them, to waste the taxpayers' money. We should completely switch to the reflection principle. And it is zinc oxide, is titanium dioxide, and other oxides which can be used. And the beneficial part of it, that these inorganic compounds, they don't penetrate the body to the same extent as organic compounds can penetrate, and they are known to penetrate.
So you make a really good point, and people may argue that they need sunscreen in order to avoid something like skin cancer or maybe heat rashes. So is there another alternate route that people can take for applying sunscreen, but it not being sunscreen and having these harmful chemicals like these certain dioxides?
First of all, I recommend my listeners or people to attend my public presentations. By the way, I have done during the last several years 30 public presentations, which were attended by some 2,000 people. First of all, to limit the exposure to sun, because more they are exposed to sun, more sunscreen lotion, more protective means they have to use. This is the main problem. I would like everybody to realize whenever they liberally apply the sunscreen lotions to their bodies, and they apply also to their kids. If you go to the beaches, you can see what is happening, right? This is application of the formulation, which has more than one compound. Usually there are multiple compounds in there. So each time you're applying, it's a it's a chemical assault on the human body. You have to realize, is it just worthy to do or not? And many of these compounds are not, again, studied to the extent that the drugs and medicines are studied by FDA. And if we are talking about derivatives of acrylic acid, we are talking about other compounds. I don't want to become too technical. So this is always a fine line to walk to what maybe they better to limit their exposure to sun, but not to expose their bodies to these gram quantities of these complex organic compounds.
Right. And another thing too is lead has been found in a lot of cosmetic products and personal care products, such as mascara and even foundation as makeup. For those that don't know, how catastrophic would you say is lead to our bodies?
Lead is one of the most toxic heavy metals in the periodic table. It's known to cause 5 types of cancers in humans and 3 types of cancers in animals. Among its ability to proliferate inside the body is the following the algorithm. First, it enters the bloodstream. After that, it spreads out into the body, goes inside the tissues. After that, it migrates into the bones, also gets into the brains.
Wow.
And as of this afternoon, there is no way that we can take that contaminated body and clean up from lead. It's impossible. What we can do is some partial cleaning. If we have acute poisoning from lead, we can clean the bloodstream. Now, the problem is that a century ago, approximately, so much was known already that lead is toxic. And the fact that lead is toxic is known since ancient times. In ancient Rome, in ancient Egypt, it's already known that the lead is toxic. And we have committed 3 major mistakes. First, we started using lead-based additives in gasoline. We started using the lead containing the water pipes, so they're completely made of lead, and also lead-based paints, which have been used in the household. Now, these are 3 major reasons why lead today is ubiquitous. It's everywhere. It's hard to even avoid this, no matter what we do, what we eat, what we drink, what we touch. It is in a human habitat. Now, overall, because of this level of contamination, which is caused, of course, by industry, understandably. Scientists like me have been talking about this for decades. I would like just to name one of the scientists, Claire Patterson, for many, many decades was advocating against using lead as a lead gasoline. But it has happened. Now we have this massive contamination of the human habitat. And what is happening now, the proponents of this, people who are defending the interests, now they are saying that lead is naturally occurring compound. So they're trying to convince the society that it is not caused by those reasons, but it is just naturally occurring compound. It is true that it's naturally occurring compound, but that contamination of the human habitat is not caused by the fact that lead is present in lead ores. No, it's because of the man-made activities. Overall, in one sentence, I can say, because of the contamination that we currently have for our society, right, it is a catastrophic level. Even I would characterize it as a civilizational threat.
Okay, wow, that's insane, honestly. And let's just say a miracle happens and we start using better products, right? Do you think we would see a dramatic shift with our skins, bodies, environments, and maybe a dramatic shift even with these companies making these products that have these chemicals in them? Do you think we'd see a dramatic shift if we changed what was inside these products?
A lot of things can be done. First of all, we have to start listening to scientists, which are unbiased. They don't have any financial interest when they point out what the harmful chemicals are. This has not been happening during the last century. I just gave an example. Now we have to deal with these consequences of this magnitude, of these proportions.
One last question I want to ask you is, have you seen a change in the past couple of years that you've been doing your research? Even when you put out your book, have you seen a change at all?
I would say if there is a change, it can be only incremental. Mm-hmm. And I have to say that the fight that I am in right now, it's like in David against Goliath, and scientists like me, which are representing the usually consumer protection groups, which are mostly have very limited resources. Most of them are NGOs. On the other side, of course, we have the industry with nearly unlimited financial resources. So it is really hard to make a difference. Of course, we are doing our best, but at the same time, we have to realize that scientists who have something to say to the general public, as I said, to close that informational gap that we currently have, they should have a platform, this kind of TV programs and radio channels. Currently, we don't.
Well, thank you so much, Doctor, for joining me here today. I really appreciate it, and we will be right back after this break.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
After 15 years of smoking, Eva Marie quit. There's a new lung cancer screening that could save her life. You stopped smoking, now start screening. Learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Welcome back. With me right now, I have Betsy Rodriguez, a freelance makeup artist, and Fabulous Jason, a professional makeup artist. How are you guys?
I'm great.
Good. Thank you for being here. So first thing I want to ask is, as makeup artists, do you think it's important to know what's in our makeup because we're applying it to our face daily?
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's important. I mean, I'm aware that everybody has different kind of skin tones. Not skin tones, I'm sorry. Just, what am I trying to say?
Like
oily,
different types of
yeah,
skin.
oily, dry. I know that mine is super sensitive, and if I try certain kinds, that it will like break me out completely. So I mean, I think it's your face, you know, it's what you're showing people. It's really important.
Yeah, I agree with her. I feel like it's really important to know, just in general, what you're using, what it has in it, because what type of effect it's going to have on you and your, like she was saying, on your skin. So
Totally.
yeah.
So as makeup artists, how does it make you feel when you hear that the FDA doesn't regulate any of the ingredients or chemicals that's in our products? Does it scare you? Does it worry you?
Well, when I first discovered this, I was kind of in awe. I was in shock that they were allowing all these chemicals to be in our product, because in Europe they have a whole totally different regulation, and most of the products that they sell in the US, they don't sell in Europe because they don't pass those regulations. So it just kind of makes you think like, wow, there's so much chemicals, ingredients that we don't even know about that are harmful to us and doing who knows what to us, that I think it's really important to know about.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's crazy how sometimes we like to say, oh, the people from over here, their faces are so nice, blah, 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 blah. And then you notice this, that they're not, you know, looking at everything that we have in our faces. And every now and then I'm like, oh my God, it has this? Like, that's what I'm putting on my face. So I think it's really important, and we should definitely put some, you know, attention to that too.
Of course, totally. So since both of you are makeup artists and you're around makeup all the time, have you ever seen any drastic side effects on yourself or other people? Any bad reactions?
Yeah, well, I attended aesthetic school, so I did like facials and stuff like that, and makeup as well. There was this one time when we had to use the products that the school provided. Like all of this on my own face just swelled up, and I had like this big double chin, and I was like, oh my, that is not the kind of double chin that people want, or at all, right? But it wasn't just, it was swollen, but it was also like aching. It felt like was like lighting a lighter right here, you know? And I saw a lot of people to wax or not, you know, like all of the bumps right here. That's the craziest I've seen, thank God.
What about you, Jason?
Well, just in general, a lot of my clients that they always stress out about, oh, I have sensitive skin, I can't use this product, I can't use that product because I have an allergy. So I've had clients who switch their whole makeup routine or skincare routine to something that's more natural, and they see a huge drastic change in their skin. So sometimes just making those switches could be really beneficial for someone.
100%. And so you just mentioned that the first time you heard about this, what your reaction was like, but I want to know for you, Betsy, since unapproved chemicals is something that we've known about for a while, what was it like the first time you found out, oh, these chemicals are in the products I use on myself and on other people?
Well, I mean, it's kind of just one of those things that you don't think is a thing. You don't think that like people aren't looking at these things or that you're not secured. So it's just kind of like, wait a minute, so then how do they allow to even sell it? Like people are complaining about what's on the food, like this is on my face too, you know, and this is going in my face. I can get skin cancer from any of these things, you know, and so it's shocking. It's really shocking.
And did either of you ever question whether you wanted to continue doing makeup or not because of these harmful chemicals?
For me, it did. I used to work for Chanel, and Chanel's another company that does kind of like animal testing, and they don't really watch the ingredients that they're putting into their products. And so I had to sell that at work, and it was really difficult for me once I started becoming more aware of all the dangers that I was like, why am I going to stand behind a brand and a product that I don't believe in, and I can't be hurting these people? But at the same time, it's the consumer's responsibility to kind of, you know, educate themselves on these types of products themselves. So that's kind of the only way I was getting through. But now I work for a brand that's vegan, and so, you know, I think we have to support the cause and the brands that are trying to accommodate people.
Totally. Yeah. Do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I actually worked for a company as well. Well, not a company. I was selling these products, and when it was, you know, in order to sell these things, I had to put them on myself, and they weren't working for me. And I see these products and I see these ingredients, and I'm like, if I'm not, you know, on their side with it, why should I be selling it? So I just stopped. I don't think it's. So yes, I've stopped doing certain things because of what they have.
And you both make a really good point, because I wanted to grab a quote from Beauty Bakeries. Have you guys heard of Beauty Bakeries before? Okay, so basically it's a cruelty-free and vegan-friendly makeup line. And I got this quote from this website. It says, a common side effect and bonus to vegan products is that they often a gentler and safer all around, not only leaving out animal products, but also toxic chemicals, parabens, gluten-containing products, and heavy metals. So when you hear statements like this from big brand companies or indie brand companies, does it attract you to want to work with a company like this and use their products because they're putting it out there like, hey, we're a vegan-friendly makeup line, this is why you should use us?
Yes.
Absolutely, yeah.
Definitely.
I think, yeah, if you're willing to have something safe with you, and you just, it's kind of like the practice what you preach thing. It's kind of like, if I'm going to be able to be happy and proud of the products I'm using, of course, you know, being part of it, why not?
Absolutely. I agree.
And so I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but there's chemicals like mercury and lead and stuff like our foundation and even our mascara, which is, we're applying it right to our eyes. So do you think if people or makeup artists knew that these chemicals were in these products, do you think that we'd still be using them?
Well, it's kind of a difficult situation because first off, like if, you know, they regulated all of this, this is $1 billion business and it's just growing. So I feel like it's going to be really hard to have them like change out all the ingredients. And at the same time, like I have played with a lot of vegan brands, and unfortunately they're still trying to figure out like their way. So the products aren't as good, but it's good to support a brand that's kind of making a difference. So it's kind of, we're making the steps. I've seen the steps, you know, of us progressing into that direction. So hopefully we can just all continue heading there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you just mentioned vegan makeup. So do either of you think that using vegan makeup and making it more popular in the beauty community, do you think it'll become a trend in the next couple years, or have you seen it become a trend even now?
Yeah, I've seen it become a trend.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think that if the more we like bring it out, and the more defaults that we bring in the one that's not vegan, the more they will want the vegan. Because the more I read into what's in my makeup that I currently use that's not vegan, it's like, okay, how's the alternative in the vegan side looking? Yeah,
Right.
some more awareness.
Totally. And do you guys think that it should be up to the consumers to look up what's in our products, or should that be these big brand companies' job and the FDA to regulate it in the first place?
I would say both. Well, I mean, I think that the vendors are always going to do whatever benefits them. So I think the FDA definitely has to step in a lot, because, or else, obviously, if a chemical is going to make a pigment stronger, let's do it, you know? And that's what sells, so.
I think they definitely should regulate it, because these chemicals and all of the parabens, they have different side effects for different people. So for some person, they can get cancer. For another person, they just might not be able to become pregnant. Like I know a friend who can't get pregnant, and it was contribute to fragrances and cosmetics that she was using. So I think we should all try to move forward and make that change.
And that brings up a really good point. So if there was a way to make any changes with this topic and this conflict that we've been having for a while now, and the development of makeup, what changes would you guys like to see occur?
I think as long as we perfect those ingredients that are vegan and cruelty-free and all that, I feel like if they can just get better as far as like getting their products to be efficient and look good and be good, I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, I think that, for example, whenever I do freelance makeup, and if they do have a certain reaction to it, they're not going to want to come back. So if it secures, you know, my little side pocket, it's something that I definitely want to see change, you know? We want more regulations, so then we don't have more reactions, and just not on like people I'm doing, but people that are trying makeup because they're seeing it all over online. And I see little 15-year-olds like doing their makeup hardcore. Like I said, I didn't do my makeup till I was 21. So it's something I definitely want to see change, especially if the audience is getting younger and younger.
That's true.
Yeah.
Very
I think
true.
about that.
Well, that's all we have time for today. Thank you so much for joining me, and hopefully we can, you know, get this issue more spoken about.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for watching On Point. You can follow us on social media at CSUN On Point. You can hear us on KCSN 88.5 FM on Sunday mornings at 5:30. You can watch us on Santa Clarita Valley Television on Sunday afternoons at 5:30 and on LA 36 at 8 on Thursday nights. For all of us here at On Point, I'm Chris Farias.